Chris Colbert versus Tuksok Nyambyar. Let's talk about the fight. Well, Chris, he didn't deliver on his promise to KO Tuksok Nyambyar. Tuksok Nyambyar, a featherweight who moved up to super featherweight on short notice for this match, as Yuriorkis Gamboa became injured in the build-up of it. Thus, Tuksok decided to stand in. And while Chris didn't deliver on his knockout promise to knock out Tuksok Nyambyar, he did put on a thoroughly entertaining show. Pitched all of a shutout.
Won almost every round.
And there were one or two defensive drawbacks to Chris Colbert's implementation. Little things that need working on, but there are always things that need working on. You can always be a little better version of yourself. For the most part, Chris put on an impressive display of boxing.
Though Tuksok did land some interesting shots.
Vaguely recall a right hand that got through for Tuksok Nyambyar in the first half of the fight. As the right hand landed, I thought to myself, Chris has got to clean it up, because against a more interesting puncher at this weight, he might not be able to take the shot as well as he did coming from Tuksok. Tuksok, who's a featherweight, that moved up to super featherweight for this fight. And I have no doubts that Tuksok, beyond this, he's going to go back down to 126. He's going to go back down to featherweight. But he did land some interesting shots here and there. And as he landed those shots, I thought to myself that Tuksok likely isn't the biggest puncher at this weight. He lost something on the way up. And against more interesting punches than Tuksok, Chris doesn't want to be eating right hands. He doesn't want to be eating those punches. Thus, he's going to have to clean it up, tighten up that defense moving forward. Though there's plenty of time. He's a young guy, professional record of 16 wins, no losses.
He won wide on the cards.
So there's no need to nitpick the performance, be overly critical. The star of the show really was Chris Colbert's laser jab.
Kid's got some fast hands.
You often hear that the jab is the most important punch in boxing, and a fight like this puts that on full display. If not for Chris Colbert's laser jab, you likely would have been able to see more aggression from Tuksok Nyambyar, but Tuksok was being met at the door with the jab, the laser jab of Chris Colbert.
Repeatedly.
Beat him to the punch with that punch in many ways. You don't get to get nothing going because you're being met at the door with Chris Colbert's lead hand, which you can't seem to find your way around.
I saw him land something like 4 jabs in succession.
The first half of the fight, the early goings of it, I saw Chris Colbert connect with 4 consecutive jabs that Tuksok Nyambyar had no answers for. Way to work around.
Everything was off the jab.
Well, mostly everything. As there were moments where Chris Colbert, he's fighting with his hands down, and these young guys, usually guys fight with their hands down, it's because they believe in their speed. They believe they've got fast enough hands to do the business and quickly get out of there.
One or two moments where Chris winged some shots.
With his power hand, which looked a lot more like a clubbing right hand as opposed to a straight one.
Straight down the middle.
I think the effectiveness and accuracy of that right hand would be improved considerably given Chris Colbert's hand speed. His athleticism, his angles. I think it would be greatly improved if he fired it as more of a straight punch instead of a sweeping, clubbing right hand.
But you can't nitpick too much.
Chris Colbert never really lost control of this fight. It was a dominant showing for him from start to finish. I think comes to Tuksok Nyambyar, even though he lost to Gary Russell Jr., and even though he lost last night to Chris Colbert, this kid's got a future at featherweight. Emphasis on featherweight. What about super featherweight? But he showed that he's a durable guy. He went the distance with a young guy, a lot of gifts, a lot of skill, a lot of speed, and he managed to hear the final bell. I think Tuksok Nyambyar could turn out to be a major player at 126 pounds, the featherweight division. As far as super featherweight, Chris Colbert.
Very entertaining fighter.
Inside and outside of the ring, I like what I saw, and I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Charismatic personality, this Chris Colbert.
And it is that charismatic personality that got a lot of attention earlier this week when Chris Colbert chimed in on that entire Wilder versus Fury situation. The story now seems to be that it wasn't Deontay Wilder or his team that had that Fighthype interview taken down. Apparently, it was Chris. And this would be more believable if Carl Tavius Jones, a member of Deontay Wilder's entourage, didn't claim responsibility.
He said Wilder checked Nestor Gibbs via text message.
The day the video was taken down, Carl Tavius was seen online via social media gloating about how Deontay Wilder checked Nestor Gibbs by way of direct text message. This entire narrative that it was Chris that had the video taken down as opposed to Wilder himself or a member of Wilder's team, it's falling on deaf ears because no matter how you spin this thing, who would have wanted the video taken down?
It's not like Chris changed his stance on anything.
And there are other videos by way of other YouTube authors, members of the media, where Chris, he's pretty much saying the same thing. He didn't change his stance.
And those videos weren't taken down?
So why was this one? What was it in particular but this particular interview that the Deontay Wilder people might not have liked? And if you actually believe that it was Chris that had this video taken down as opposed to Wilder, a member of Wilder's team, or the higher-ups at the PBC, you tell me.
Why aren't any of his other interviews where he's saying the same thing taken down?
And why was Carltavius Jones, Deontay Wilder's water boy, the day the interview was taken down, why was he seen gloating by way of social media? Why was he seen gloating online, claiming responsibility? In so many words, that's what he was doing.
Saying that Wilder had words with Ness.
That's the Gibbs, who was visibly upset, visibly angered that the video had been taken down. And Nestor seemed pretty convinced, pretty sure that it was Deontay Wilder and or a member of his team that had the video taken down, because it stands to reason. Fighthype themselves, they stand to profit from the viewership the video garners. Nestor Gibbs as well, he stands to make profit from the video.
Why would they want to take it down?
Look, do you know for a absolute? Would you put your kids on it that Wilder deleted that video? Do you know it that accurately?
Chant, let me ask you a question.
No. Wait. I'll answer your question, but please answer mine just out of respect. Do you know for a fact that Wilder deleted that video?
No good journalist gives up their sources, man. But I'll tell you this.
That's not what I asked you, though.
I'll tell you this.
No, I asked you. It's a yes or no question.
I can't give you a yes or no answer. You
don't know, or you're not willing to.
I'm not willing to, because then it would jeopardize me and my source.
Nestor Gibbs seems to have it on good authority, or at least he seemed to have had it on good authority, who wanted the video taken down. However, Fighthype, a very lengthy comment that reads, "I'm not going on some tour just because a bunch of people made videos based on their assumptions. For the record, not one person has actually contacted me to find out what really happened or why it was taken down on Fighthype. I guess that's what they mean by hashtag new media. That said, the only thing that happened was that I received a text with a screenshot from Chris Colbert requesting the video be taken down. So that's what I did. As far as I was concerned, no explanation was needed. Because the person who did the interview, Colbert, was the same person asking for it to come down. It was his content and his decision. I was never contacted by anyone from PBC or Team Wilder. So anyone saying that in regards to Fighthype, they are lying. Why Colbert wanted it down, I have no idea. That's not something that concerns me. And also, for the record, this is not the first time someone has asked us to take something down or edit something out of a video. It happens all the time. I literally took down another interview the day before Colbert's came down, yet nobody is talking about that one.
Nestor Gibbs seemed pretty convinced that it was Wilder that wanted the video taken down.
The day the video was taken down, Carltavius Jones, Deontay Wilder's water boy, he claimed that Deontay Wilder actually got in contact with Nestor Gibbs by way of text message. I've spoken to at least one person who informed me not to believe the cover story. By way of their sources, it was at Wilder's request that the video was taken down. Now, was it at Wilder's request through Chris Colbert? Your guess is as good as mine.
Fighthype is saying Chris requested that the video be taken down.
But that doesn't mean that somebody's not running interference for Deontay Wilder. We see guys run interference for Deontay Wilder free of charge all the time.
Even if Chris is the one that requested the video be taken down.
Why did he decide to do that? Was he instructed to do so? Was Chris Colbert under duress?
Was he coerced?
Was he pressured to get in contact with Fighthype to have the video taken down? This is a bona fide case of he said, she said, and as is commonplace with these bona fide cases of he said, she said, there's a lot to reconcile. Nestor Gibbs seemed to have had it on good authority that it was at Wilder's request the video was taken down. Carltavius Jones, in so many words, claimed responsibility on behalf of the Wilder camp, saying that Wilder checked Nestor Gibbs by way of direct text message, but Fighthype is saying something else. They're saying it was Chris that requested the video be taken down, and I'm just left wondering, why should the video have been taken down? For what reason?
Fighthype doesn't know.
They didn't say. They didn't specify as to why Chris Colbert wanted the video taken down, because according to them, he didn't specify why he wanted the video taken down.
And why would he have wanted the video taken down?
I mean, it really didn't make him look bad. Didn't necessarily put him in the hot seat. He himself wasn't even the focal point of that video so much as what was being said and what questions were being raised ahead of Deontay Wilder's trilogy with Tyson Fury.
According to Fighthype, Chris wanted it taken down.
You reconcile it. You make it make sense. Why would Chris Colbert, after having said everything he said, make the decision to get into contact with Fighthype in order to have the video taken down? Why would he want them to take the video down? Was he pressured? Was he instructed to do so? Was he under duress in order to toe the company line and behave more like a company man?
Did somebody call him and did they tell him to call them?
Was it from pressure coming from the higher-ups at the PBC offices, or was it all just due to fan backlash?
The negative reaction it got in some circles.
What you have to understand is that when all of this first went down, Nestor Gibbs directly blamed Deontay Wilder for the video having been taken down. And I don't know what Nestor knew or what Nestor didn't know on the day.
That's who he blamed.
And it was more than just a hunch. He cited inside sources that had communicated that much to him, that this video was taken down at Wilder's request.
Which really isn't hard to believe at all.
I'll tell you what I think. This video having been taken down is in keeping with a story we saw last year, reference to Paulie Malignaggi and how reportedly Deontay Wilder tried to have him fired for saying that he thought Tyson Fury won their first fight. This story is in keeping with that one. But regardless of what you believe, the damage is done. Having the video taken down creates that many more reactions, draws that much more attention to the situation than leaving the video up would have.
People are still going to believe what they want to believe.
Even if it's exactly the way that Fighthype says it is, and it was Chris that requested the video be taken down, that still creates more questions that are going to need answers to a lot of people. Because no matter what, it's Deontay Wilder that was made to look bad by that video, not Chris Colbert himself. It all looks the way that it looks, and it looks like somebody got to Chris and told him, tell Fighthype to take it down. And finally, in Bantamweight news, Guillermo Rigondeaux posted this image via his Twitter account with a caption that reads, "Everyone knows King Kong beats Godzilla." Actually, it's the other way around. If you saw the movie, Godzilla got the better of the exchange, and Godzilla won the fight. Now, King Kong, he did provide a very good assist when Godzilla was in trouble, but as far as the fight between them, Godzilla got the better end of it, which came as no surprise to me. I went with Godzilla by way of knockout.
He almost killed King Kong.
Caption goes on to read, "Unfortunately, the public is going to have to wait because this Godzilla is the kind of monster that wants none of this." And to what bantamweight could he be referring to? Because nobody calls John Riel Casimero a monster. They don't call Nonito Donaire a monster either. Who they do call Monster. They call Naoya Inoue a monster. The monster of the bantamweight division, to be exact. And the story seems to be that the fight between Guillermo Rigondeaux and John Riel Casimero is back on for August 14th. Not a bad fight. It does have its own level of intrigue. But this goes back to what I told you guys before. Both Guillermo Rigondeaux and John Riel Casimero are spending more time focused on Naoya Inoue, trash-talking him, instead of trash-talking each other, even though neither one of the two are set to fight him. They're fighting each other. And what I see is that they're trying to ride this guy's wave, using this guy's name to get attention for themselves, to get attention for their fight, which is a common practice on PBC Island and those that dwell there, which wouldn't be the end of the world if you were confident that the winner of this fight will go on to face Inoue. If that were the case, then it might make sense.
If that were the case.
But is that the case? Is that what we can expect to see after the outcome of August 14th's fight is decided? Whether Rigondeaux wins or Casimero wins, can we expect the winner of that fight to take on Naoya Inoue thereafter, or are we going to end up in another situation where you guys are quite comfortable talking shit from behind your fence? He's the cash cow. That's why you guys are talking about him.
You gonna cross over for that fight?
Is that what your handlers are going to do, or is it that you don't want to cross over? You don't want to have to go over to the top rank side of things. If that's the case, what are you prepared to do? What dollar amounts are you prepared to put up to have Inoue come to you? Because there's only so many ways this fight happens.
It's either you go to him or you make him come to you.
Let me tell you something. It's It's going to be pretty expensive to make him come to you, but that's what you're going to have to do if you don't want to go to him, if you don't want to have to cross over, because there's only so many ways the fight happens.
That's why I think this is clout chasing.
I'd love for the winner of Rigondeaux versus Casimero to simply cross over and have the fucking fight. But if they don't want to cross over, that creates a problem. And I'm not convinced that they want to cross over. Moreover, I'm not convinced they actually have the finances to get Inoue to come to them. Don't you see how Al Heyman treated that Rigondeaux versus Casimero fight? He treated it like it was a second-tier, second-rate fight. That's what he did. And the moment that someone else became available, the moment he had the option of making at least what he must have believed was a better fight, that's what he did. He swapped out Rigondeaux for Nonito Donaire, even though Rigondeaux beat Nonito Donaire many years ago.
He felt Donaire versus Casimero was a better fight.
Otherwise, why would he have swapped him out? When news broke that Donaire was going to be standing in for Rigondeaux, that's what the story was in so many words, that there's nothing wrong with Guillermo Rigondeaux. Al Heyman is simply swapping him out in order to make a better fight, a unification match.
He doesn't think much of Guillermo Rigondeaux.
As far as marketability, as far as drawing power goes, I mean, that's why he didn't make that fight between his boy Leo Santa Cruz and Guillermo Rigondeaux all those years ago. He doesn't think anybody wants to see it. Didn't want to see him. With this news that Casimero versus Rigondeaux is back on, we can consider Donaire versus Casimero officially off.
Officially.
So you've got Rigo, who's rumored to be 46 years old, at least according to Rick Glacier. You got this 46-year-old bantamweight talking about a guy who he's not even going to fight in his very next fight, a guy who he's made no effort to fight since he won that WBA baby belt, that regular title.
Talking like I knew he turned down a fight or something.
Who's Rigo trying to kid? He's looked very poor in his last two showings. He's rumored to be something like 46 years old. You haven't actually lifted a finger in order to land that Naoya Inoue fight. So what's this supposed to be? Some kind of smokescreen? You trying to gaslight us?
If you want him, beat Casimero first.
Win that WBO title. You might have a shot.